What's up, math scholars and math haters? This is Mr. W. Today we're going to tackle question 26 in the 7th grade math questions that North Carolina released this past school year. Now, this question is going to combine two skills that by themselves are relatively easy to deal with, but when we put them together it gets a little bit trickier. We're just supposed to figure out which expression of our four answer choices is equivalent to this. So the two skills that this is going to test us on, you might have guessed, we're going to need to know about the distributive property and also how to multiply fractions. So, let's go ahead and get started by just talking about the distributive property. If you remember, or if you don't, the distributive property tells us that we need to multiply the number that's outside our parentheses by everything that's being added or subtracted inside. So that means I'm going to multiply negative 1/2 times 1/4 x, and I'm going to multiply negative 1/2 times negative 3/8. And I know this is a minus sign, but minus and negative are like two ways of saying the same thing. And in fact, it's useful to use that phrasing for this problem. So we'll go ahead and get started by doing negative 1/2 times 1/4. And I know there's an x here. We'll just come back to that, because if there's a variable that's being multiplied by some other stuff that's itself being multiplied, we can ignore the variable until we figure out the numbers. So, negative 1/2 times positive 1/4. This is going to have me use my rules of multiplying negative and positive numbers. So negative 1 times positive 1 is going to give me negative 1. And now positive 2 times positive 4 gives me positive 8. So this leaves me with negative 1/8. And now I come to negative 1/2 times negative 3/8. I'll go ahead and set that up. Negative 1/2 times negative 3/8. And I find that when multiplying positive and negative fractions, it is easier to just take the negative sign and put it right next to my numerator, because that is actually going to take care of a lot of the work that we would have to do otherwise, thinking about negative and positive and all that. Now we just deal with it the first time and be done with it. So negative 1 times negative 3, a negative times a negative is a positive, so that gives us positive 3. 2 times 8, positive times positive gives us positive 16. 3/16 ends up being this fraction, and I'll go ahead and say that this is positive. So we're looking for whatever answer has negative 1/8 and positive 3/16, and it looks to me like that's going to be choice A. So again, this question just took two skills, the distributive property and multiplying fractions, that by themselves aren't too horrible to deal with, and made it a bit trickier by putting both skills in the same question and having you do both of them at once. But we made it, we figured it out, our answer is A.